Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Another exciting show, and definitely, and I mean definitely, another exciting guest. Let me tell you where today's story is going to be and why this young man is sitting right here. I'm pretty sure you heard of legendary groups like the Spinners, the Four Tops, the OJs, Enchantment, Blue Magic. I'm going to go all the way back. The list goes on. But let me tell you, today I'm really, really fortunate that this young man has graced the studio presence because he's a legend. He's Indiana's own, and I do mean a legend when it comes to the music industry. I know we heard of Babyface, but there was an artist way before there was Babyface. Let's welcome to the show the one and only Mr. Entertainment himself, Mr. Rodney Stepp. What's up, big dog?
Hey, thank you, man, for inviting me here. This is an honor to be here with you.
Man, I met you briefly at the music event that Sid put on, and I had no idea that I was sitting next to royalty. And I do mean royalty.
Okay.
So before we get started, Rodney, tell the viewers, tell me a little bit about who you are.
Well, I'm Rodney Stepp. I'm a graduate of Christmas Adams High School right here in the city of Indianapolis. Went on to, as you say, to some type of small music fame, so to speak, by being the musical director and also the keyboard player for the Mighty Mighty Spinners. Wow. That everybody knows about. But even before then, it was high school, it was bands, it was the Diplomats in high school, it was Rapture after the Spinners, it was Jazzy Cazzy and the Eight Sounds, which, we had a recording with that group. And hey, it's all about music in my world.
I'm familiar with Christmas Addicts. My pretty much whole family, the Craytons, all went there. Okay. And the Taylors.
All right.
Attended Christmas Addicts High School. That's a legendary school in this city. How was music introduced to you?
Well, music was actually introduced to me at 4.5 years old. I started, believe it or not, piano lessons at Jordan College of Music at 4.5. Really? They called me a child prodigy, so to speak. It was my aunt that discovered my talents, and she mentioned it to my mom. She said, hey, you need to have him tested, because the story goes with her, when I was 2 years old, they had a piano. Mine had a piano at her house. Right. And I would always crawl up to the piano. Right. And when I was about 4, I was actually playing a song, a TV theme song.
At 4 years old?
At 4 years old.
That's crazy.
And she was like, and I was picking out just the melody. I wasn't playing chords, but, just whatever the melody of that show was. Mm-hmm. And that's when she noticed that my mom and dad, I was blessed that they were able to afford to get me tested. And they took me over to Butler and Jordan College of Music, and the rest was history.
That sounds unbelievable, right?
Yeah, I know. It's sometimes when I was told the story when I was younger, as I was growing up, I was like, wow. But then I remember, the recitals. Right. I played with the Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra when I was 9.
I've seen them perform.
Really? I was 9 years old. I did a recital with the Indianapolis Symphony.
Is anybody else in your family genetically gifted like that in the music?
Oh, yeah.
Because usually what I'm saying is if it's one, somebody else too.
Yes, that's true. Well, I've got a first cousin that was the co-founder of the group Midnight Star. He went to Shortridge. We have Alan Burke, who was not only the musical director for the Spinners for 23 years, right, but he was with Aretha, Marvin Gaye, Patti LaBelle. All these guys are from right here. I have another cousin that taught school for music, the school for 30 years, a graduate of Kentucky State, and got his master's in music at Butler, Mike Simmons. Mm-hmm. Bill Simmons is his brother, who's right, with Midnight Star. I have a cousin, Daryl Armistead, who now lives in Chicago, and his sister, Carol, both of them Carol was a school teacher for almost 50 years of music. She's worked with some of the biggest gospel acts and plays for about 5 or 6 churches in Washington, D.C. And the list goes on and on. Yeah, we have a big musical family. Music and sports.
You mentioned something. You mentioned a history of names that came out of Indiana. Now, I'm just hypothetically thinking here. The reason that these names are not noted today is because we wasn't allowed to get the exposure or the resources. Because I think the only newspaper that we probably had as a culture was Indianapolis Recorder.
True. And the Indiana Herald back in the day. And of course, there was, it was one of those things we were there was the segregation going on, even during my early years. A lot of the blacks attended either Attucks, Shortridge, Tech, Washington. It was mostly inner city schools.
What happened to Woods?
Wood got canned. That's because everybody beat him in basketball. No, no. But no. I think most of the people that went to Wood ended up at Manual.
Okay.
I believe on the south side, because Wood was located more on the south side of Indianapolis, or southwest, southeast, so and then schools start coming up like Marshall and other places.
Oh my God, I remember wanting to go to Marshall so bad, man.
Why?
Like, I was young. It was kind of like my mom literally moved over there behind Marshall High School. So when it was time for me to go to high school, I would go to John Marshall. It was just something about John Marshall that I wanted to go. I didn't think about any other school.
I tell you what, Attucks was the best school in the city.
I believe it.
And I tell you, I'm not saying that because I'm a graduate. I'm saying that because we had the best teachers. We had teachers that had PhDs because they couldn't get jobs anywhere else.
Right.
So they were coming from all over the country, to be able to teach at a high school. And with Attucks being predominantly black, and these teachers came in, they expected a lot of us.
I've heard that they expect.
The expectations were high, and that's why if you study Attucks and the history of Attucks, you'll find a lot of engineers, doctors, astronauts, basketball players. Yes,
Wendell Taylor, my cousin that broke Oscar Robertson's record.
Now that's crazy because Wendell and I, we in the same graduating class.
That's my point, man.
Wendell and Chick and Maxie and everybody, the basketball team.
It's a small world.
It's a very small. Plus, if Wendell's your cousin, guess what?
What?
Maurice Taylor was the trumpet player in my band in high school.
Get out of here.
Maurice Taylor. Robert was one of my best friends. Maurice was one of my best friends.
What did I just tell you when you sat down? I said, this shows that we all are connected
some kind of way. I mean, Gilbert, Mary, everybody. I mean, come on, I know your whole family.
I mean, my dad he played Billy Joe Crayton. He wound up he played football there. I mean, everybody I know either went to Christmas Attucks or they went to Tech, but you always heard nothing but you heard a different story from the two.
Yes.
But you always heard that the people that went to Attucks, it was about excelling after the fact.
Exactly. I mean, they gave us the opportunity. Like, for instance, Russell Brown was my music teacher. Of course, Anderson Daly was there, and then Mr. Newsom was there as well. And Anderson had the choir, of course, and the choral stuff. Mr. Brown had the instrumental and the marching band. And then Mr. Newsom had the orchestra. So they in my music world, man, they played a big important part, including a guy by the name of, I can't leave him out, Alfred Officer. Mr. Officer was my first music school teacher in 4th grade. I was playing clarinet, so I started playing various instruments. I played piano, which was my first love, clarinet, saxophone, and then I just started picking up guitar, bass, drums, whatever. If I could play it, beat it, whatever,
Right. Yeah.
I picked it up and started doing it. But piano was always, and keyboards was always my first love.
This is crazy. I know how to play the piano.
Okay.
I started out playing the guitar.
Uh-huh.
I fell in love with the bass. And middle school, I played the alto sax.
Oh, wow.
And wind up playing the clarinet. That's crazy.
See.
And people look at me and they're like, don't like you play any instruments. I said, I do more than just pump iron. Trust me. But my question here is this for you. You was gifted with the ear of music at such a young age where you can hear, because that's pretty much how I started. I can hear and can play something, but I didn't know how to read music. So I had to learn music. What was that like for you to be gifted where you can hear a song and play it, but now you have to be able to read music to excel to some degree? What's that like for you?
Well, I guess, for me, with me starting with the lessons at 4.5, I started reading. I had the ear evidently
Right.
already, but then I was trained, and I was trained classically at first, and when you're taking lessons and, you're playing Mozart and Tchaikovsky and,
I
Beethoven.
told somebody there yesterday, they looked at me like, what's crazy? They said, you listen to what?
That's right.
You listen to what?
That's right. And that's where I got my discipline from. And then, of course, it was easy to start because some people can only play with music. Like you'll see, for instance, a lot of older gospel pianists or something that might be in the church. They may play and you notice they're reading out the hymn book. They couldn't do the Hezekiah Walker and all that kind of the Kirk and everything.
Right.
But unless it was written, and then it's going to be a little stiff. We were gifted that we could read and we had feel at the same time. I just call it feel. You just get into the music and hey, just pump it out and go for it. Have that rhythm. But the whole key between what gifted me with the being able to read was able to be able to do sessions in a lot of places. Because a lot of times they don't have time for you to sit up and learn something. It's like put the music in front of you and they still want some feeling, but at least you can get through the chord changes or the lines or whatever. So it's an advantage both ways, to be able to have that ear and to be able to read.
You might have had a technical advantage over everybody that you came in contact with growing up and even going to high school because you had that gift prior. Were you ever looked up? Did you ever get like some people almost like bully but not bully because you did know more than the other people and these things came easy to you?
I didn't get bullied as much and the only reason was because I was an athlete as well.
Oh, okay.
So
I should have that.
And that helped a lot, so to speak. So all the gangsters and all the gangs, I kind of was cool because I did the music thing and I could go out on the court, with them, and so I kind of wiggled my way through Hallville, Lockville, Clifton.
I know those areas.
Yeah. So, because I grew up in what they call the Flanner House Homes, which is a historic place now, over by Crispus Attucks.
Is that Indiana Avenue?
No, it's close to Indiana Avenue, but it's only about 5 streets. It's 12th Street, 13th Street, Ransom, Brook Street, Brook Lane, Fall Creek, Parkway, East Drive, East Lynn, and West Lynn Drive, and that's it. That's
you remember all the geographical terms?
Yes, because that what? That is my place to this day. And in fact, I'll tell you, whoever lives in my house, okay, and if they know the address, you know who you are. If I ever hit the lottery, I'm going to make them an offer they can't refuse. I never should have sold that house.
Really?
1245 Brook Street. Yeah. Flanner House Homes, Historic District. That should be my studio right now. But I didn't have the vision
Right.
After my parents passed and everything. And it was sell the house, build a studio, do this, do that. But if I had had the right vision at that time, and I would have kept that house.
I'm pretty sure a lot of us would, but the generation didn't understand economic wealth.
Exactly.
Now, if you look back it's funny because when people come to Indianapolis and I give them a tour of the downtown areas and stuff, they go, "Oh my God, this is like," I say, it didn't used to be like that. It was really minorities that was occupying all of this area. But when you don't have the resources or the education part to say, I need to hold on to this is usually what happens. It goes in somebody else's hands, and we call it, some people call it gentrification. I don't call it gentrification. I call it the fact that our ancestors were unfortunate to not know what they should have held on to, and then in certain cases they wasn't even given an opportunity. It was taken from them through the system, so to speak.
I have a situation like that with my family out of Kentucky. We had an aunt that she was a slave, and her owner gave her, when they let her go, they gave her $8,000 and some land.
Mm-hmm.
And this land, it was on the Kentucky River. Okay. Down in down in Clifton. I'm not going to say we were forced to sell, it's a long story, but we still should have. That's another piece of property we let go.
Yeah.
And we never should let it go. But that's a story for another day. But that's just to piggyback on where you're coming from with Indy. Same thing with the Flanner House Homes where I grew up. IU would love to have that. Okay. And they're going to get it, but they're going to have to keep it because now it's just, it's a historical
property now.
Yes. A historical landmark and everything, along with Phillips Temple, the original Phillips Temple Church that was right there on, it's Martin Luther King now, but back then it was West Street.
Really?
Yeah. West Street up until about 25th Street, then it became Northwestern Avenue, and
I remember Northwestern.
Yeah,
and
then 38, then it 421 when it crossed 38th Street.
Well, it's still Bluff 421
and Bluff Road when it went south.
Yeah,
yeah. I know my city.
So let me ask you something. You mentioned something. I think the viewers need to resonate to this. What memories do you have of that? Because you clearly said you wish you want it back.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the most beautiful memories? What were some of the difficult memories growing up?
The most beautiful memories was, man, the neighbors, everybody was your mama.
Yeah.
Everybody was your daddy.
Yeah.
We couldn't do nothing wrong. If we did something wrong, your mama was getting a phone call.
Yeah.
And your mama would tell them, spank him. Put your hands on them. I mean,
I remember.
I mean, and the whole entire neighborhood.
Yeah.
There was somebody on every street that was looking out for you, and like they were your mama and daddy. And the love that we had for each other. I mean, to this day. Mm-hmm. I can go in that neighborhood right now, and I could go down almost every street, and I can tell you who lived in every house, and what that person meant to me, or, this person was a schoolmate, or this was my first girlfriend, the first girl I ever talked to, or this and that, or whatever it was, my favorite other mama and other daddy, in the neighborhood. And the stories like about Flanner House, how that neighborhood, a lot of people don't know the historic thing behind that, how 27 homes initially were built, and our parents built their own homes.
I didn't know that.
You had electric. My father built cabinets for 27 homes. I think it ended up more homes than that. But my dad was a good carpenter. Now, he worked at the post office during the day.
Mm-hmm.
And excuse me for a minute, Andre.
You're fine.
I've got to take a drink here.
Go right ahead. Take your time.
Yeah. So then we're going to pause for a little commercial here. No.
Go ahead. Take a drink.
Water.
We cut that part out anyway.
Shake it.
I'm drinking a lot of water now, man. It's crazy.
But well, what I was saying basically about Flanner House, you had one of my friends' father was an electrician. So when these guys would get off from work, they would go build each other's homes. They each had different talents. That whole neighborhood over there. And next time you're down by, we had the Fall Creek Y. It's gone now, of course. Campus apartments, they're really gone now. It's a university something now that they've refurbished. Lockfield's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, all of that. We had, of course, back then, it was a General Hospital. It wasn't Wishart yet. It was General Hospital.
Okay.
Where Wishart and Eskenazi basically is now. And the neighborhood was so historic. We had a lot of people, a lot of musicians, and a lot of athletes in the neighborhood. A lot of high school basketball stars, and that's why I'm so connected with Wendell and everybody else. I mean, these guys are. I mean, people just don't know. Legendary. They got legendary stories. So
let's talk about your music. When did you really gravitate to saying to yourself, I want to pursue this on a bigger level? Because let's get real. Let's think about it for a minute. When you hear, I want to be a musician or I want to be a band, they call it a hobby. When did you change that narrative? And was that brought to you with your counselors?
With my counselors, I would say no. With my passion, which I didn't learn about passion until I was almost 40 years old.
Really?
I was about 40 years old when I learned about passion. I mean, really understood passion. A lady sat me down and she talked to me about my passion, okay, and explained a lot of things psychologically and educationally and mentally, But I would say, honestly, first of all, like I said, I started off, I'm playing basketball. I played a little baseball, but basketball was my first love. My mom wouldn't let me play football because she thought I might get hurt, but yet and still I'm playing in the park with no pads. You know how we do. But Mom, might as well let me put the pads on to play at school, No, you can play basketball, but Mom, you just don't know basketball just But when I didn't grow but a certain size, and I'm playing and there's people like Steve Downing and George McGinnis, and
I forgot about George.
Yeah, 6'7" in high school.
Yeah,
and a lot of people don't know George could have played football. He could have been a linebacker, tackle, or something in football. George was strong. He was baby bull for real.
Really.
But when I saw that, I had certain skills, but my skills really was music, and I said, hey, you know what? Forget about the sports. I'm going to start concentrating on music. So like I said, I won my first talent show at 12 years old at a junior high school. Of course, they call them middle schools now, right? But at a junior high school, Booker T. Washington School, number 17. Okay.
I don't even know where that is.
It was right next to Attucks. And it's torn down now.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a little school, a little 2-story building, and it was right there on the corner of 11th and West Street.
You know,
which is now
in that street in my mind,
Yeah.
and I think I remember something being told.
There was a building there, you know, and we used to. I mean, you know, addicts didn't have a gym back then,
Right.
You know, I mean, they were just in that was about 64, 65 is approximately when I think Addicts' Gym was finally getting built. And because there was a period where we had to practice because of the high school teams, we couldn't schedule our junior high school team in the gym. We had to practice on the stage of the auditorium.
Really?
Yeah, they'd go get those portable baskets, and then when they got to a certain point, then they start scheduling us in that auxiliary gym, which is now the museum. Yeah, I'll go way back.
I'm getting a complete history lesson here, and this is crazy.
But the original question about gravitating to the music, I just started getting pumped up. I mean, I had all these cousins that played. Our family wasn't thinking either at the time. We had so many musicians in the family, they could have put us together and we could have been a Jacksons or a Osmonds or a whoever. But we all ended up doing our things individually, except for me and my cousin Bill. We were in the group, the Diplomats, in high school together. And then he went on to Kentucky State, and that's where he met the guys from Midnight Star, and they formed a group. I think they were called Funkified or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then they went on and moved to Cincinnati and, became a legendary, historic group. No Parking on the Dance Floor.
I like that song. Yeah, I like
Searching for Love, which Sid helped write. Yeah, he was a co-writer on Searching for Love. And I mean, so that's a plug, Sid. I just plugged you, so hey, I'll expect that check.
We're gonna talk about Sid in a minute. So you're talking about the mid '60s to the '70s, and you're still talking about something that's really crucial for people to understand. We're still dealing with racial tension at its peak. How difficult was it to pursue your dreams knowing that eventually you got to cross those thresholds to be into white presence? Because you just can't say everything's going to be a black presence. It's just not how the world's gonna be. But how difficult was that for you, and when did the opportunity come where you start to see yourself being accepted and recognized as an artist on both sides of the track?
That didn't happen until, honestly, I was with the Spinners. It never happened locally, even though we may have played a Shortridge High School talent show or a Broad Ripple High School talent show or whatever. And every talent show we played, we won, the group. But though we might have had a mixed audience, we still were completely segregated. We were with a company called Designated Productions, and our parents allowed these 4 guys to kind of guide our careers, which is a legendary in itself. I mean, this is a huge story by itself. But we were playing clubs like the Demonstrators, the 20 Grand, Dave's Country Club, Dave's Lounge, which was on 16th and Northwestern. Dave's Country Club was way out on Pendleton Pike. We were playing, we never got to play like the 19th hole or anything like that. That was more jazz, Jack McDuff, Jimmy Smith, people like that would come in. And at our age, we never even got to play the Sunset. But we were playing a lot of places where we had to be chaperoned. This is funny. One of my craziest experiences was playing. I'm 15 years old, And if you've never heard of this club, you have to look it up. It's called a Pink Poodle. And it was on Capitol or either Senate, one of the two. I can't remember.
Okay.
And Pink Poodle was definitely a different type of club, okay? And we're 15 years old and we're playing behind all of these entertainers, right? And I will just say, look it up, okay? That's
I'm gonna look it up.
not going to mention anything. I'm just going to say it was an experience, you know. And throughout my musical career, again, until I got with the Spinners on a national level, I never felt like we were accepted only in the black circle, you know. Even I spent 21 months in the service. I got drafted and I was in the Army for 21 months. When I got out in January of 1974. And 2 weeks later, I'm with the Spinners. That's how fast that happened.
Okay, we're gonna move. Hold that thought. Let's talk about your first group because it all starts with the first. How did you wind up picking your first group to do the album Rapture, and how did all that come about? Because you're just now, that's in the 70s, and now you're starting to release. You're almost like Tupac and all them other guys. Only difference is you alive and you now releasing music that you don't have hidden away and stuff.
50 years.
Yeah.
Right.
So how did you wind up picking your first guys to be with you when you did Rapture and decided to do a group and go into the recording studio? Because everybody doesn't have your vision.
Well, and as you can see, this particular album was just released. Okay, you see, look who wrote the liner notes for me on the front. Now there's some real heavy. There's a whole story on the liner notes in the inside that was written by Kyle Long from WFYI, and Ethan Alifat, who's the owner and the guy, the vision that's with now again records in LA. It was he supported this, and he's the reason why this is out. It's on vinyl, as you can see, so they put some money into it.
Yeah.
He wanted to bring back what it was. Now, how Rapture started was this. I'm with the Spinners. I had just turned down the Jacksons.
Which Jacksons?
Michael Jackson. And
okay. This is going to be like a 2-hour-long segment. You got turned down?
No, I turned them down.
Okay, wait a minute. Hold that. How did that come about?
Well, the Spinners, we were in a place called Painter's Mill. And I don't know if you remember, but back in the day, there were 9 of them in the country. They were they called them theaters in the round, where the stage revolved all the way around, but it was real slow. It would take it almost an hour to go all the way around. There were only 9 theaters like that, and one of them was in Baltimore. It was called Painter's Mill. The Spinners broke Tom Jones' attendance record for a 7-day stint there. We were there 7 days. And I think, but after the place closed, the Spinners still held the record for having the largest attendance ever. But we broke Tom Jones. Yes. Yes. That was phenomenal. When just thinking about it, well, what happened was we were there that Saturday and Sunday, we were closing out. The Jacksons were following us that Monday. They were coming in because you did 7 days when you'd go to these theaters. They came in, and they came in early. They came both nights, Saturday and Sunday, and their musical director and a couple other people, they were looking for a keyboard player that looked like them.
Oh.
And see, back then I didn't have all of this, I was about 32-inch waist, and I had hair.
Yeah.
Okay. I fit the bill, right?
Yeah.
I'm 22 years old. Okay. So I'm fitting the bill of what they were looking for. They were famous then.
So that already did Sullivan and all that kind of stuff.
But This was when they were trying to leave Motown.
Oh, okay.
And it would take 2 days. No, but to try to tell that story quickly, they made me an offer. The offer was great. I was giving the Spinners a notice. I mean, they offered me, they said I didn't have to live in LA, but they were going to give me an apartment in LA, take care of it, buy me a car, keep it there in LA. So from when I came in for rehearsals and this and that, what they were looking for, and I don't know how many people remember this, but they had a band, but they had a lot of whites in their band. They had an old white guy on keyboards and this and that, because they were reading. They were doing a lot of vaudeville type stuff and along with their hits. Mm-hmm. But Jermaine was gone. They were revamping. They were trying to, they wanted their band on stage with them instead of being in a pit. Their cousin was a drummer at that time, and he had the look. He had that Jackson look. So they wanted with Jermaine when he was there and with Tito, and they wanted a keyboard player and a drummer to actually be, so they can look like the band and what they call them back then, boy bands.
Yeah.
They wanted to have that look instead of their musicians being in a pit with the orchestra in that type.
I think I remember them trying to transition with a band. I thought it was different.
Yeah, exactly.
It didn't fit them because I wasn't used to them with a band. You know, I mean, I'm used to seeing them
the orchestra and
I was so used to them like literally harmonizing and dancing.
Yeah, and then you had one guitar player on one end and the other one, Tito on the right, Jermaine on the left, that type of thing. But I get back. Our next gig, Spinner's next gig was in New York at a place called Westbury Music Fair in New York. And don't ask me, Andre, how I have this memory of all this stuff, but I do. And
you know why you got it? Because we'll talk about that too later.
Okay.
It's passion.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
And we get to Westbury. I'm telling the Spinners the bad news. I'm going to give them 30-day notice. Tom Bell, Henry Erdogan, Atlantic Records, Linda Creed, who was my buddy. I'll tell you a story about her later. Linda Creed, Maurice King, who was the Spinners music director, and then, of course, the rhythm section. Nobody wanted me to leave. So they started making me promises because they knew that I was a songwriter. They knew that I was a creator. I created stuff. That's what I really wanted to do. That was where my passion really lied.
Really?
And I really wanted to be writing songs and getting music, the music on other artists and all of that. That was my real love, is songwriting. And I got inspired by that in 1963 when the Beatles was on Ed Sullivan. And that's another story for another day. But that was my inspiration, 1964. February 1964. The Beatles were on Ed Sullivan, and that's changed my music world forever. I fell in love with the songwriting of Lennon and McCartney. Really? And me and a buddy of mine, James Walker Jr.
And I can see how that can happen because when they touched ground here, every single thing that they produced, the words were immaculate.
Unreal. I mean, I was like, Strawberry Fields Forever and this and that. And even the simple stuff, I want to hold your hand, I mean, she loves you. Yeah. I'm like, wow, these guys are they're just innovative and creative. And they capture you not only with the music, but the lyrical content, and then when they started writing ballads like Yesterday and Eleanor Rigby and stuff like that, it just intrigued me. And that's when I began my songwriting. So, and I was 12 years old then.
Let's go back a minute. Hold on. We're going to be.
I haven't even told you the story about them yet.
Yeah, This is crazy. And you know what? I remember that album. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But let's go back a minute. So they start promising you things that they couldn't deliver on because they saw that you was very talented in other areas that would have cost them more money. Are there any regrets for not going with the Jacksons?
You know, I've lived my life saying I will never have regrets because we make choices.
Right.
And I made choices at that time because I believed in what a man or a woman was telling me, especially about my future and my career. And because I had been there so long and they knew me, they played on my emotions, so to speak. They were telling me, you know, one of the biggest things that they told me was, well, you know, Berry Gordy won't even let them use Jackson 5 anymore. And blah, blah, and this and that. And you don't know what the lawsuit's going to end up because they were in litigation at that time. You don't know what's going to happen. And we can give you, you know, we're on top of the world right now. We're Grammy nominated artists. We've got the top hits, top producers, blah, blah. We're going to have you working with them. We know what you can do, blah, blah. And I'm going like, you know, you've put the time in, you know, and you're ready. I'm going like, yeah, put me in, coach, you know. And then 6 months later, no phone calls, no request for, you got any songs you want to present to anybody or nothing, crickets, you know. And Linda Creed was the only one that kept trying to get Tom and everybody else, you know, because it was Gamble, Huff, and Bell, the Mighty Three Music, Kenny Gamble, Leon Huff, and Tom Bell. Okay. They wouldn't even, Linda Creed wrote all those lyrics for all those songs, including all those stylistic hits. If you go back and study Linda Creed, People Make the World Go Round, You Make Me Feel Brand New, you know, just all the stylistic stuff. You Are Everything. Then you get into Spinner stuff. I Don't Want to Lose You, Rubber Band Man, Sadie, I'll Be Around. I mean, she has something to do with almost everything. Okay,
really? And all those are
classics.
Classics, yeah. I couldn't even think of the word. I was going to say memorable.
That's why we're doing a Spinners tribute show right now, and that's why we sold out. One of the reasons we sold out. The other reason is that we put on a great show, and you had. We'll talk about that later. Let's go back to what you asked me about Rapture. I'm sorry, audience. We're flying all over the place right now. We're just having fun. We're loose. Apologize. We'll go back. Okay.
So what was up with? So where are you at on here?
You can't see me with all that hair. With the looking G.
Right. Okay. So who are all these guys?
Okay.
3, 4, 5. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You make 6.
Okay, I make 6. But Harry Eaton is on their far left, our far right. Next to him is Lonnie Williams, who's with the group Downstroke here.
Okay.
He's no longer with them, but he was with them a long time. That's me. And then Tony Hayes, who was our first tenor. He was our Philip Bailey of the group. He was good, man.
Okay.
Then Rodney Voorhees, who was the bass player for the Spinners. Also, Rodney and I we started our first band together, which we talked about, the Diplomats.
Okay.
And then this is Alfonso Surrett, who was from here,
right.
who went on with Curtis Mayfield, and then he went with Al Hudson in One Way. He's a minister now in Chicago, has his own church. And Harry used to be with Betty Wright for years, 20 years probably. And I got him when he came back home. Lonnie and I were in the Diplomats together, high school. And Lonnie and I were best friends at the time. So we won't tell any of those stories because those are pretty rough. And then, of course, me, Tony. And how that happened, I'm with the Spinners. Mm-hmm. Again, vision, right?
Right.
Okay. I'm kind of a little disappointed because, you guys didn't keep your promise. I'm not writing for anybody. I got these big producers. We've done a lot of albums.
Money, even though you wasn't writing?
I mean, I was getting paid from the Spinners,
Okay.
but nothing from, and anything else. So after we did this live album, my stock went up because the organ solo on Mighty Love, everybody was just freaking. I mean, including Billy Preston, who was a good friend of mine back then. Billy would come to every show we did if he was in town in L.A. And I bless Billy's heart. I got to ask me about that later. Okay, I'll tell you a little secret. Because this is something that I loved it, man. That dude, man, could play. Yeah. Okay, but he was a good-natured guy. But that put me on the map in the entertainment world, musically, the industry, put it like that. So I started getting called for sessions. I did some sessions for Brian Dozier Holland. I did this one song, and we recorded it in California. He wasn't physically there, but the track we did was for Fred Wesley, which was James Brown's trombone player and musical director. I did some other stuff for a lot of different artists. And so I'm with the Spinners, and I had this vision. I'm going like, you know what? I'm going to get my songs out. I'm making money. I'm making good money. Okay, we're out there. We're top group for 4 years. We're the top group in the country, Hold
on, when you say making money, give me a number.
Back then in the 70s,
yeah.
I was probably averaging about $1,500 to $2,000 a week.
Wow.
In the 70s. Yeah. And then they start putting us on retainer as well. So when we wasn't working, we were still getting paid because they wanted to keep the unit together. And they were making money. The Spinners went from probably about $40,000 a night to about $150,000 a night.
What do you think made them so different in an era that there were tons of groups?
Okay. Can I be honest?
Yeah, seriously.
Can I be real honest?
Real honest.
White people gravitated to their music.
Well, why didn't they gravitate to other artists? Because let's get real, there was tons of great groups outside of the Spinners. I'm not knocking the Spinners.
No,
but they were on the same playing field.
To me, the Temptations is still one of the best all around everything groups as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
That's my group. Those were my guys. But this is just my opinion, okay? Of this is my little corner of the world of what I'm thinking in this industry. Spinners came along in a time where they got the right producer, the right record company. They were with Motown. If you remember, Spinners were with Motown too. But like Billy Henderson said in a documentary, there were too many of them. There was the Contours, there was the Four Tops, there was the Temptations, there was chairman of the board, there was, you just go down the list, and you had all of these groups with Motown.
Well, you can watch the Temptation movie and see all the groups that was lined up out there.
Exactly. So things were breaking a little bit because, we were getting close to the disco era, in the mid 70s and everything else. And the Spinners' music just gravitated and crossed over. I hate that word too, but I hate let me not use those type of terms. I dislike, certain terms because they characterize music. I don't think music should have any kind of, you can say gospel and Christian music, you can say an R&B, you can say rock, but why we got to have all these charts? Music is music. Country music, this and that, whatever. But when it comes down to it, it's still music.
Yeah.
And we have segregated the charts and everything else, in my opinion. Well, again, the Spinners' music we started noticing our audiences averaging 70% white, 30% black in the 70s, with all the different riots and this and that and everything else that was going on in that time. we started noticing that in most of the places we would go. Now, when we went to Atlanta, different story. When we were at Apollo in New York, different story. But when we were at all these other places, like from Radio City Music Hall, Carnegie Hall, the Greek Theater in LA, or doing major work like that, all of the big concerts and arenas, a lot of them were 60-40, 70-30. And it wasn't until later to me that whites really started all of a sudden listening to Motown. And I can honestly say, I feel I can say that because I've been with a white rock band for 21 years now. People just don't know. I've been with a group called the Flying Toasters right here in Indianapolis for 21 years, going on 22.
And they're a rock band?
They're a rock band. First rock band. I'd never played rock music before, and I was made an offer to audition. And I tease my colleagues all the time. I said, you know what? I've only auditioned for groups twice in my life. And one of them was here in Indianapolis.
That speaks volume.
The Spinners was the first one. That was the first group I ever auditioned for, and for a job. And the second, because I didn't audition for the Jacksons. They wanted to hire me. They wanted to sign a contract right then. And then I auditioned for the Flying Toasters. But I've been with them, like I said, 21 years, and it'll be 22 years in March.
Wow.
And so I got my teeth cut a little bit on a little, rock and this and that. But a lot of those guys, they don't know the history of a lot of black music. Everything. So Cameo is Motown. Okay. You see what I'm saying? And we know Cameo's not Motown, but to them, almost everything is Motown. That's, and that's just a cultural difference. And so, like, even though My Girl was a big hit for the Temptations, if you really, really kind of go back and study it, it didn't really start crossing over until later. It was a phenomenal hit. The Temps were able to do Ed Sullivan and, with the Supremes and this and that. And that was all phenomenal. But it was kind of later when in the 70s, especially when they started getting the casinos and we started doing Vegas and all of that. That's when, to me, the diversity started being supported.
What about the marketability of you guys with shows like American Bandstand, Soul Train, the Ed Sullivan Show? Do you think they open up easier path to cross-pollinate the music? Most
definitely. I remember when we did American Bandstand, Midnight
Dick
Special.
Clark.
Yeah, Dick Clark. They didn't use the band. We used the tracks, but I was there because me and the musical director was always on the scene. The conductor. But American Bandstand. But then we hosted Midnight Special 3 times. Wolfman Jack. Back in the day. And my resume, sometimes I shake my head, Andre, of when I read some things that I haven't seen in a long time, when I send stuff out and people ask me to send stuff to them, and then I look at a certain I said, gosh, you played on every talk show there was.
Yeah.
From Johnny Carson to Phil Donahue just on down the line. Letterman. How did that make you feel? Because I read it. I was like, man. I was just having fun. I was just doing what I was doing. It wasn't culture shock to me until I came off the road and I got a real job. That's when it became culture shock. I had never in my life done something the same way every day. You know, like when you have a job, you get up almost same time. If you got a job with a uniform, you put on the same uniform. You travel the same route. Well, I was in a different city every day almost. I was on a different plane, a different bus tour, whatever, a different studio. You know, that was my life for 8 years, and all of a sudden, I'm clocking in. You know, it was culture shock. So when I was doing it, it was almost like, well, doesn't everybody do this? Because you got to remember, we were young. We were in our early 20s when we first got discovered, so to speak, and got out of here. And with that, you know, it's, I look back at the accomplishments, but at the same time, I remember something, and I can't remember who told me this. It wasn't Quincy, but it was somebody, and I can't remember who it was. But they were telling me about the gold records, and they said,
I remember that gold and silver,
the gold and platinum and diamond records. Yeah. Okay, they said, you know, these are nice on my wall, but guess what? I can't eat them. See, when it all comes down, and the walls start falling, all of those things are great, but if you don't sustain, if you wasn't able to gain financially, or if you didn't invest right with the money that you did make, what I saw with a lot of groups, that's why a lot of groups today are still performing.
Yeah, like the Isley Brothers, and the list goes on.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, well, Ron got in a lot of trouble with taxes. You know, now Frankie, I'm sure he was okay. Frankie just did it because he could, and he was in demand. Now, then there's nothing wrong with that. I see that happening, and again, these are just opinions, no factual basis, but I see that happening in the industry right now. With the streaming, we can't make any money as musicians.
We just talked about that.
You know, and so the musicians that are making money.
Hold that thought for a minute.
Okay.
We just talked about that before we did the interview. Why do you think that me and you know that? Why don't the other artists know that? Is it that they just are blinded by the fact that a major name like Spotify, Pandora sounds attractive to help them sell their product than them saying, what do I need to do to really sell the product, to sell my product?
Well, again, generational differences too.
Okay.
This generation never experienced a royalty check. We saw $60, $80, $100,000 royalty checks to artists, to publishers, to songwriters. They'd come in the mail. You know, I mean, even when I was doing TV shows with the Spinners, I mean, just being in the Musicians Union, LA 47 or whatever it was out there, I'm getting surprise checks because they doing reruns on all the shows. I'm getting checks for $800, $1,500, $2,000 just because we were on TV for 20 minutes, you know, whatever. But them not experiencing getting that kind of money, then they can't compare it to anything. So the streaming industry for them is what the music industry is. And for us, us old school artists and people, we know that there's people that used to make good living being songwriters.
But is it easier for the day's artists? Even let me rephrase this. Is it easier for today's artists because they don't have to work as hard to maybe, I'm going to use this word clearly, maybe become an overnight sensation? Because me and you share something off of the set, and I share with you pretty candid. I even talk to the artist. You're only as known as the people that you're around. So just because you got something on globally doesn't mean that somebody's listening to you globally.
And you don't know, you know, I've schooled myself somewhat. I think for my age, I think I'm pretty savvy with social media.
With all this stuff,
Yeah.
right? You're past savvy.
But the thing is with that, I think that the understanding, we need to make our money right now live.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why the old school artists are making money right now, making more money than some of them ever made. The demand for entertainment. People are starving for entertainment. The younger artists are not, a lot of them, unless they have come up among the ranks, they're not
entertainers.
entertaining. Okay, I mean, you wouldn't pay $300 ticket in Vegas to see some of these artists.
We was at an event. We're gonna go back to the Spinners a minute. We was at an event, and one of the ladies, the last event me and you met at, and the lady reached out to me. One of the ladies, she said, "Well, what do you think about the one artist?" And I said, "You want me to tell you the truth?" She goes, "Yeah." I said, I didn't even know what he was singing, didn't understand the message, and I didn't know what he was trying to deliver.
I understand. And
she took it good. You know, I said, but I'm just being honest, and I'm not a music connoisseur, but I know music.
Yeah.
I know entertainment. And I said the first thing that I was looking was trying to figure out what his message was.
Yeah.
Who wrote the song? Because I didn't even I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even understand what he was saying.
Where's this going? You know,
that's exactly it.
I can't tell the difference between the hook and the verse.
Thank you.
You know, it's, I tell you, you know, I don't like being asked to be a judge in talent shows because I don't like have to be in a position to have to tell the truth on some things. I would rather pull somebody to a side one-on-one and not, you know, be in a situation where, especially those judges that hold up the number signs, you know, and that type of thing, because that can be degrading to an artist too. And I'm sensitive to artists. I've always been that guy. Pull them up. Don't knock them down. You know, everybody is not going to be the best at everything that they do. But if they're, again, when I've learned that if they're passionate about what they do, follow them, see what happens, help them, do something. In fact, I'm speaking, I'm a keynote speaker next week at IU for the music class down in
now
IU.
Have you moved back here?
I've been back.
Okay.
I've been back for a long time.
And it's funny that you said that, because even in my career as a professional bodybuilder, I wanted the feedback.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I wanted to know, you know, no matter how brutal it was, you know, but I get it. Some people, you don't know how they're going to take the honesty, but I wanted the honesty. I wanted to be the best. I felt like if I didn't put myself out there, then I was going to keep making the same mistakes. I needed to know what I needed to do, blah, blah, blah. But now, with that said, do you find that a lot of the artists today don't want advice? They know it all because they live in a digital age. It's easy to write a song with Chat GTP, and it's easy to throw something on social media and call yourself an artist.
Well, I can't honestly say. If I wanted to even know something like that, I would go to Sid or to Tommy Henderson, somebody who's working with artists. I quit kind of working with artists, except for I work with the group Men in the Fire, the gospel group here. Mm-hmm. I'll record, I'll do stuff for people and that type of thing. But kind of being networked with them, knowing their daily activities and how they're doing things, I'm too busy trying to still keep my thing going and afloat And so I'm not, I don't go out. I'm not seeking to manage anybody, or I'm not looking for that next big star. That's not what I do, Excuse me. And so it would be hard for me to honestly give an opinion on that about the artists of today. I just hope that my biggest thing is whatever they do, hey, be serious about it. Don't do it for the wrong reasons.
Do it for passion.
You do it for and don't do it for money. Don't do it for the woman. Don't do it for the song. Don't do it. I mean, because let's be honest. There was a lot of people, and even when we were growing up, get on stage to get busy.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, but that's real. No, I got high on my music, and that's another thing. And a lot of my close friends, they really commend me for being able to say no, because I was with the biggest of stars back then. I mean, I was going to Hollywood parties at Red Fox's house and, Quincy Jones and this and that. I mean, we were in that circle, and I saw things that, wow, little snotty nosed kid from Indianapolis.
How did you resist? How did you resist the temptation, though?
Just, man, I didn't like the taste of alcohol. That was just number one. I never acquired a taste for it. And then drugs, and believe you me, I was offered everything under the sun. Hey, man, blah, blah. But I don't know, strong will. I just, and one of my partners didn't fare so well. He partook and it ended up destroying his life, But I guess I saw things and I said, oh, man, I'm not going to do that. I don't need that. Mm-hmm. That stuff will destroy you. I read. I was like you. See, you were a teacher. You taught. I listened.
Yeah.
See, I listened. I listened to a lot of people out there. I had a guy, and I'm going to tell this story. We were at Red Fox's house. It was, do you remember Sherry Payne, that she took Diana Ross's place in the Supremes? It was a lot of us. We had just gotten through doing playing at I believe the Hollywood Bowl. Okay. It might have been the Greek Theater, but it was the Greek Theater. Red was having a party. So we limousine to the party and everything, but I had a friend that knew that scene. It was one of my first scenes like this, right? This is the naive little Indianapolis guy, okay? We get to the door, the butler, is there greeting you. He's handing you a silver necklace
with a
spoon on it. And it's silver. I'm thinking it's a gift.
Yeah.
I'm serious. And I'm not saying I wasn't square, but I wasn't, I wasn't seasoned yet.
Right.
Okay. And I was hip in other ways. Okay. Yeah. What Tara Power says hip to be square, But my partner said, hey, man, look, I know you don't do this. So let me school you. 1, don't accept a drink from anybody. He said, from nobody. He said, 2, when they approach you and ask you, do you want this Coke or whatever, right? Just don't say no. Just say, no, man, I've had enough for now. Don't let anybody know that you don't do this. He said, there are drug dealers all in here. And if they know that you're a virgin, they're going to try to get you high and get you hooked so you can become a customer. And that was the first lesson that I learned.
Wow.
We're talking about naked girls by the pool, this and that. I stumbled into the wrong room. First time I ever saw pure Coke in my life. It looked like a movie. I thought I was in Superfly or something. Brick, big block. got the razor blades, the mirrors.
Mhm.
I'm staring at them. I'm like, I don't know what the heck are they doing.
Yeah.
I'm serious. And my buddy, he said, man, let's go.
Yeah.
He said, cause you gonna be, you a dead giveaway. and we got out of there. But you know, but he did. He schooled me. He said, man, don't take a drink from nobody unless you get it yourself. He said they'll throw a Mickey or something in there, man. Next thing you know, you back in the back somewhere.
And you probably already seen a lot of people in your field that became victim. I seen a friend of mine in my roommate, his brother turned him out. That's the first time I seen a brick, and they was like cutting it. And I remember his brother was like, hey, this guy's going to come by. And he came by and he was cooking something over the stove and put the needle in his arm, man. He was throwing up in the sink, and I go upstairs and the girl shooting in her breast, and he was like, cause she got to find a vein. Man, I got up out of the house as quick as all outdoors. And then I wind up seeing my roommate walking down the street, and I thought I was seeing things years later. And he was pushing a grocery cart, and I tried to turn around because I was going downtown. I tried to turn around, I couldn't find him, but I saw his sister a couple months later. I said, "Hey, can I talk to you for a minute?" And I said, "Hey, when's the last time you seen your brother?" And she said, "Why'd you ask?" I said, "Because a couple of months ago, I could have sworn I seen him pushing a buggy." She's like, "He got turned out."
Yeah. I mean, I saw it in different ways, you know, and one of them really broke my heart, but I was always able to stay away.
Yeah.
I mean, my music was my passion. And I don't know what made this lady, I'll never know really to this day how we got into that, but she really broke that one word down in many different ways.
We're going to close with that because I think I know that answer. Let's go back a minute real quick. What was it like to work? Because you're doing tours now as a tribute to these guys. Now, my favorite spinner is the lead singer and the guy that sings "Early One Sun."
Felipe Wynn.
Oh my God.
Felipe Wynn.
It was like working with these guys.
He was one of a kind, okay, in many different ways.
Love affair. Did you write any music for them at all?
Yes, I did. But
love that you read about,
all unreleased. I have a video right now that I'm a promotional video. We did 7 in 1994 and 1995, and the Indianapolis Star did a big article on it. I brought the spinners in, my money, my time, my everything, my songs, along with other people and my partners that I was writing with. I brought them in. We recorded 7 songs on them. Still to this day unreleased. John Edwards was the lead singer then, and John was the one that sang Cupid and Working My Way Back to You. That's what the ones he's more noted for in the latter days after he replaced Felipe. But my cousin was Bill, of course. He wrote one of the songs. At the show we just did, as people were entering, I had the video playing. It's like a history of the 25-minute video of the spinners, but I played all of that unreleased music in the background. And he was like, man, that stuff still sounds good. I'm gonna have to share some of this stuff with you.
Really?
And he said, man, I just couldn't believe I was here. To this day, I'm still prayerful that somebody is going to, I can say, make this come to their senses. Okay, I'll say that much. this could be a win-win for everybody in a lot of different ways with that music. They're all gone. They're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They're not coming back. I got some 7 songs that nobody's ever heard but us.
Really?
And, you know, you would think somebody, just like anybody else that passes, you know how it is, Elvis music, they find this stuff, you know, and this and that and whatever. Yeah, you're looking for my name, I'm in there. No.
You know,
Under keyboards. No.
this literally brings back memories. Like, I remember Bobby had the smoothest voice.
Yes.
And when Felipe would sing, it was just like, this is hard.
That's history. That's history. Henry. Oh yeah. That's a double album set. And, you know, we started off, you know, Broadway tune. We started off with a tune, Fascinating Rhythm. Fascinating Rhythm. Da-da-da-da-da. You know, I mean, that type of thing, orchestrated. But then, of course, like I said, what put me on the map was that daggone Mighty Love and that organ solo throughout me and Felipe. And Tom Bell had encouraged it, but I have to give credit to Felipe. Felipe was the one that said, man, we getting ready to do this live album. I want you to just go off. He said, you know how I do the shimmy thing, you know. He said, you know that stuff you do behind me live all the time? He said, man, go off on this album. And that's exactly what I did. I went nuts.
Out of all these guys, which ones, what was each one of these guys' personalities like?
Billy was our guy. Billy Spinner, the one that they thought the Rubber Band Man was about. Once there was a short, fat man, you know, but it really wasn't. Though, from what I understand, the song when Tom Bell wrote it was about his son, the Rubber Band Man. But everybody associated it with Billy from the Spinners. Billy Spinner, as we used to call him. He was the musician's friend. He was the guy in the group that was like, no ego, no star. I don't want to hang out with the guys. I want to hang out with the band. The band is cool. I'm serious. You know, I stayed in his condo in Southfield, Michigan. He let me have his condo in Southfield, Michigan when I had to move to Detroit, and because he didn't use it very much, you know. And Billy was just like that, man. He was. And we met Billy. I met Billy, you know, now going back. Remember I told you about Designated Productions?
Mm-hmm.
There were 4 bands up there. The Diplomats, Expressions, Show Merchants, and somebody else. We played behind the Spinners, the Shylights, the Emotions, Joe Tex, Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells. Back in that day, in the 60s, they could not afford to carry a band, black artists. They carried a musical director, and we had the charts. We could read. Mm-hmm. We were some young, gifted guys that could read. When they came to Indiana, they knew about us because of the Spinners, because Billy was from here, and his cousin was one of the guys in Designated Productions. Wow. That's how the association started. Mm-hmm. When the Spinners were able to afford in 1969, after Stevie Wonder wrote It's a Shame, and It's a Shame came out, that powered the Spinners to be able to afford their own band. Mm. They came to Indianapolis and started picking musicians left and right. I couldn't go. I was a junior in high school. My mother wasn't going to let me leave high school. But our guitar player left, our bass player left, and our drummer left. Then Alan Burke, who we rave about, Alan Burke left, and then he got guys out of Cleveland. Mm-hmm. He got 2 guys out of Cleveland. A guy named Joe played guitar, and a drummer named Dobie London, a left-hand drummer. And so our history goes way back, man. We started playing behind these artists. I was 14, 15 years old, but I wasn't playing keys behind them. I was playing sax.
Really?
I was in the horn section. and Turk was one of the keyboard players, and Alan Burke. And then I graduated and I started playing keys and sax, and he was playing keys and trumpet.
Let me ask you a quick question too. I'm gonna throw his name in this mix. Sid Uncle James Johnson, a master in his own right when it comes to music. This is a two-part question.
Okay.
We mentioned a lot of the artists that revolve through the Indiana doors. Why do you think that we wasn't so amplified as places like Ohio? You had Ohio Players, you had Bootsy Collins. I mean, you know, anything about Ohio. Ohio was really doing some stuff. Why do you think? What was there competition between Indiana and Ohio, and as it relates to entertainment and music? Because Sid is back there.
Have you been in my head or something? Have you been that little? Because, see, you keep asking these $50 million questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Things that we have pondered all our lives. And see, I go back and relate things to things I've done before and things I've said before, and I can back it up. There was a magazine called Sister to Sister. I don't know if you ever remember that magazine, but it was I think it was some ladies, some black females that were the publishers and owners of this magazine.
Mm-hmm.
I was interviewed by Sister to Sister. LL Cool J was on the cover, and the page I was on, I was right next to Clive Davis in the magazine. Now, I'm just keyboard player and music director, for the Spinners at that time. And they came into Indianapolis and interviewed me at my house on my porch. Okay? And they asked me certain things, and I told them, Indianapolis, and I'm not just saying it again, and I'll still say it to this day. I have been all over the world, Andre, all over the world. This was a blessing. Music blessed me. I have seen and been in every state in the United States, every state. And the way I got to South Dakota, North Dakota, Idaho, and Wyoming was because Rapture was on an Air Force tour. And all those places had Air Force bases. But every place else I had been because of the Spinners. And I will toot Indianapolis's horn until the day I'm no longer here. Indianapolis has had some of the most major and best talent I've ever seen in my life. And if you really do your history, if there are musicians almost with every group out there, there is somebody from Indianapolis
that's affiliated
with a Prince or a Beyonce or a this and that or whatever. You can find them. They're going to be right here from Indianapolis. Okay. Really? When you think about it, we were the hub of all those places you're talking about. Ohio, Kentucky, Illinois, Michigan. They're all around us.
Yeah.
Every last one of them states. It's almost like the planes just went over us and landed in Detroit, in Dayton, in Cincinnati, in Louisville, in Chicago. They just bypassed us. I don't know why, the Naptown thing, all of this stuff, but yet and still everybody wants to talk about all the history on the Avenue and all of this. Well, I think we, and maybe, I hope Sid will agree with me with this. I believe that we were so competitive, not everybody, but as a music culture here in this city, instead of once again doing what the Nas's and the what's the other guy's name out of St. Louis, the rapper, they stuck together. They competed, but they also joined forces.
Right.
we were a lot of separate entities, jealous of one another or this and that or whatever. And I think that's what tore down um, Indianapolis, because if you really think about it, how many groups do you know that were successful? We can name a lot of individuals.
Right.
You know, there's a whole lot of individuals that Rayford Griffin, Reggie Griffin, Babyface, Daryl Simmons. I mean, we can go on and on and on. You know, Billy Bad. There's a whole bunch of people. John Halcott, that's worked with a whole lot of industry folks, and those are just right off the top of my head. But it was the groups that made it out of here were the white groups. It was the Roadmasters. It was the Y Stores. It was John Cougar. You know, it was that. You know,
what's changed now? What's changed now? You got Sid's pretty much retired. He passed the keys over to Charles. We got great groups that are now coming out with mentorship with Babyface. We got Forecast, who is like, oh my God,
unreal.
We got,
I love those guys.
Damon Carl. We got Kelsey Marie. We got K Hugs. I mean, we even, you know what's even more tripped out? We got rappers that can rap without using profanity.
That's amazing.
Like 12, Dead Silence, like Nipsey.
We got a record out with 12.
Yeah. I mean, like, it shows that, what does that tell you about the industry?
I mean, you know, these are people, though, you hit it on the head. See, they're being mentored by some
legends.
Exactly. You know, you got a Sid Johnson that's got platinum records and, you know, has written all these hits and this and that, has learned along the way and then grew because the people that he grew then came back and kind of grew him some more, and to the point where, I mean, he's always been knowledgeable about the business. But when you have people like that, you have people like myself, other people that have been around. Some people want to listen and some people don't want to hear it at all. But the ones that will listen to you, they might pick up on something and realize that, one, this is a business.
Yeah.
Don't nobody care about you. Nobody care about you.
All right, should I put it like this? What's in it for me?
Exactly. And the thing is like, you know, if you get on that wave, ride it.
Yeah.
And ride it as far as you can go, you know, and try to stay, you know, do your business affairs. Make sure you, how many artists you know got messed up because they didn't pay taxes?
Pretty much everybody.
Most of those old school artists did.
Did Marvin get in trouble for taxes?
Got in trouble. I can't hardly think of anybody that didn't get in trouble.
But you was mentored by him too, by Sid.
Yes.
You guys work with Man-Child.
Well, I was with the enemy, as Babyface called it. And you had to see that interview hear this interview Babyface did. And I was in the enemy band. But he highly respected the enemy band. You know, he was like, we took over. He was bad. You know?
See, Babyface was in his own little
yeah, that April. And that band, now, Sid, don't kill me, okay? Because I don't know this story, so I have no idea. But I think I heard at one time. See, April was the group that was supposed to get that deal with Solar. That's what I heard. Now, I can't confirm that. But it ended up something else because of managements and this and that or whatever. You know how that business is. And I don't know why April broke up, but I have heard some tapes from back in the day. Man, that stuff is still good. That band was good. I don't even know if they ever got to play live, if they were just recording, you know, because at that time I was pretty much kind of out of the scene a little bit too. But man, you know, and then Kenny went, got the chance to go with the deal, and well, we know the rest is history.
What did you learn from Sid? What did you learn from Babyface so far?
What I learned from Sid was stick to itness, tenacity, consistency. I learned that.
Yeah.
I learned Sid could, it was almost like he didn't care. He cared, but he would give you that facade that, you know, it was all about the business. It was this, it was rigid, it was this and that. You'll be here at this time, you'll be this, and you'll do this.
I mean, that's how he
you
still
know,
is.
And that's good for these younger people, you know. But he was very thorough. I mean, when Sid was 15 and he was doing this, 15, 16, Sid was like administrative genius, you know, and he knew the industry. He knew about copyrights. He knew about publishing. He knew about these things, and he taught us. And then we went on and, you know, we came into our own worlds, and we took a lot of that and learned from it. And then we started trying to teach others. But that was one of the things that I'm going to let him tell you a story one day, if he hasn't already, about us and the stylistics.
I don't think he shared that one yet.
So yeah, I'm gonna let him. It takes Sid to tell this story. Okay, I can't spoil it for him.
Okay.
He gets a kick out of telling it sometimes, I think, and because yeah, it was bad. Okay, that's all I can say. It was. It was bad.
To reach out to him after this interview.
Yeah, you got just ask him. Hey man, what happened with the stylistics? You know.
So what you met Babyface before he was Babyface,
right?
Indiana's own. And my hat's off to him for things that he's doing currently by breaking bread with Indiana artists, by, you know, letting Forecast and Brian B. Thomas and those guys showcase their talent. You saw him when he started to where he's at now. Give me your feedback on him.
Well, you know, I didn't get a chance to really see Face until he was in Manchild. I don't remember Tarnished Silver. I mean, I wasn't here then. You know, I was living probably in Washington, D.C. at the time when him and Melvin, his brother, and they had the group Tarnished Silver. I heard about them. I kept up with everything.
Right.
But it wasn't until Manchild that I really got to know Kenny. And I thought that, my goodness, this guy's talented. I felt that they were holding him back. I felt the Kenny when Manchild, to me, almost didn't fit. Now, that's just, no, I've never said that. This is the first time publicly. And I say never fit because I always felt like there's something in him that, because they've got a flashy lead singer, you know, Flash and Kevin Farrell, and, you know, a front man, they got these phenomenal musicians, Reggie and playing Mr. Everything, playing everything, and this and that. I kind of felt like Kenny was sheltered, you know, and I'd always heard he was one of those guys that in his room all the time, like me, writing songs. That's what I would do. I'd write songs in my sleep, you know. And so the thing is, we tried to get Kenny. We tried to steal him. We almost had him. And this interview.
Why did you not get him?
Well, I think two things. Now, he said it. This is his own words. He did it in this interview that I'll tell you offline where to pick up this interview. Okay. This is his words. He said, I couldn't join the enemy. I think he really, deep down inside, to this day, I really think Kenny wanted to come over. But, you know, it's just like anything else, that loyalty.
Yeah.
And that fear of, you know, retribution, everything else. I might upset these guys, and they still got to do something. You know. But to this day, I really think, because what he said about us as a band meant It was wonderful. And I think you read a caption of that even on this liner note. He respected us, and we did. We were touted as, and a lot of people don't know this, Rapture was touted as the second coming of Earth, Wind, and Fire. That's how good we were and how diverse we were. We did our own everything. We didn't need sidemen. We were self-contained. We had a 3-piece horn section. We had a 6-piece rhythm section. We didn't need extra female singers and this and that. Everybody sung in the group but the drummer. Everybody. So you got 8 guys that could sing. So we became like Earth, Wind, and Fire, Switch, and everybody else combined into one. Okay. We did some crazy things that drove the country mad. We opened up the debut for Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Band movie in New York. Rapture was the band that did the party.
Wow.
Okay, in New York City on the premiere of that movie, with Earth, Wind, and Fire's music was all in that. Okay, we go to California. We live out there for 6 months. Man, we tore the Roxy down. I mean, the who's who was out there because we were getting ready to sign with Capitol Records. And that was one of our showcases. We did several showcases. But when we got to the Roxy, man, I'm telling you, Rapture we had a thing that we said Rapture's on the way to the world, and that was going to be our album name, On the Way to the World. And everybody knew we were on our way to the world, and we got shelved.
How does that make you feel, looking back on all this?
That hurt, because I'm trying to keep these musicians motivated and positive. We're living out in LA, man. We're going in grocery stores, stealing food so we can eat.
And see, a lot of people don't get to hear the real shit.
Yeah.
We're
stealing food. It's July, and we got a guy in there with a coat, with a trench coat, walking around the store with these pockets in it. I'm not kidding you. Putting bologna and anything we could get, loaf of bread. People are going and acting like they're going to the counter and walking straight on out the door. Man, we were blessed not to be locked up.
Yeah.
But that was survival until everything was going to come together, right? So we just and one of our lead singers, one of my best friends at the time, he left. He called his sister, told her to send him some bus money. Had I known he had called her, me and his sister were like this. I would have been able to call her and say, "Don't send him any money. He'll be all right. Don't do it." But she sent him the money. He came home on a Trailways bus from Los Angeles. That disillusioned me to the max. I brought the band back home, and pretty much that was basically almost the end of Rapture. But we had contracts. We were signed to those Air Force tour, 2 13-week tours, and the money was great. I mean, we're talking about, man, 1979 and to 1979, and we're making $10,000 a week.
How did you continue to tour? Who did you get?
I replaced with some other guys, and the chemistry just wasn't there. When you've built this sound, you've built this marriage, there's a chemistry to this thing. You just can't bring in, I don't care. Guy could bring in Stanley Clark to play bass, but if he might not fit, they're just, you're a great bass player, but you don't fit what we do, and I mean, it didn't work. And what really got me, now I've been in this band all this time, ever since I left Spinners, and nothing but accolades, top. Mm-hmm. We go to, we're on the first 13-week tour there went great. The second 13-week tour was terrible. I'd never been fired in my life from anywhere, especially as a musician. We were in Oklahoma at the Air Force Base there. I can't remember Enid or whatever it was, but we were in Oklahoma. After the show that night, the CO calls me in to his office and told me I was our last night, and we were officially being kicked off the Air Force tour. And he told me the reasons why, which, were no surprise to me. But I said,
what was those reasons? It just wasn't on chemistry.
It wasn't chemistry as much as it was stuff like things that I didn't even know. Like, let's just say MPs could have arrested some of my band members for drugs and everything else. They thought they were slick. Everybody thinks they can get away with stuff.
The MPs went and talked to him and said, look, you're going to have to break that down.
Yeah.
Or we're going to lock him up.
Yeah, because they were hiding marijuana and stuff, bearing it off base, and this and that. But when they would come through, them dogs would smell that stuff. They've been in the van, smoking. And they don't, this is a first too. I've never even ever mentioned this ever. But now, I'm 73 years old.
You don't even look 73.
I'm 70. I just turned 73, September 29th.
So 73?
Yeah.
I'm going to call him after this show.
That's
crazy.
Yeah. You
guys don't even look. I guess that's a Christmas addict gene.
It is. It is. It's a tiger power, baby. All of that it took me down. It almost took me to a dark space where I wasn't going to ever play again. But, passion again,
Did you walk away on your own terms? You ain't officially walked away. Let me rephrase this.
Yeah.
Because it's your passion, which we're going to close out with that passion. But when you decided that you wanted to lessen the load, did you do it comfortably with no regrets?
Yes, because what I realized is, one, look at what I did in my lifetime.
I've read it, and I mean, like, that's a book.
I mean, I had to honestly say, how many people, one, can say they've almost been everywhere in the world? Because after I got a taste of government work, I worked at the post office, okay? And after I got a taste of that, and like I said, going in same time every day, clocking in, same boss, same people, I wasn't used to that.
Yeah.
And as I would look around rooms, I'm going like, wow, look at you. You've been to the mountaintop. God let you see all of this. Now, what are you going to do with that experience and everything else?
Yeah.
So then that's when I built a recording studio.
Because it has to be hard to go in there and almost be like you can't cage a robin.
Right. You can't. And as much as I tried to fight it sometimes, I couldn't. And to this day, I can't. I mean, that's why, look, the Spinners Tribute Show. And I've been doing the jazz thing. I've been playing with this rock group for 21 years.
Yeah, this ain't going nowhere. You're gonna keep going.
Just doing different things. I was a minister of music at one of my churches for almost 20 years. I kept my feet in the music industry. One of my biggest accolades was when I had the studio. I built the studio in 1991. Brook Street Music. My first studio was at 18th and Meridian, right on the corner. MZD Advertising Company was there, and they gave me the basement because I was doing a lot of commercials. I was doing commercials for Delta Faucet, Eli Lilly, Cadillac, Burger King, McDonald's, do you remember that Indianapolis Recorder song? The Indianapolis Recorder? That was us. Nobody realizes a lot of that stuff. We were doing commercials and background music for audiovisual corporate films and stuff. Did a lot of stuff for Lily's. Did stuff in Spanish for Mayor Peterson. Spanish. My daughter was fluent in Spanish. I would find a Spanish singer. She'd convert the lyric, transcribe the lyrics for me. And we're doing all kind of stuff, man. That's one of the things I'm most proud of, because we transitioned and we took it from the stage to the corporate world. And the corporate world paid every 30-day invoices. But then 9/11 hit. When 9/11 hit, and you've heard stories from a lot of Black businesses, especially minority businesses, affirmative action, everything else started dissipating. It was like all of a sudden, all this work we were getting from corporations, they just stopped. I mean, just stopped. It was like, well, we don't have to give you 5% anymore, or we don't have to, we're like governed by law to, and it was like, is that the only reason you were working us? But they did. Most of our clients, they loved us. I was doing so many Hoosier Lottery commercials that the Kentucky Lottery came and hired me. And we were doing Kentucky Lottery commercials until we were shut down from a company. I can't mention their name, but they were the lead advertising and marketing agent for the state of Kentucky. And we were taking money out of their state, see?
I didn't even know they had that kind of set up.
Yeah. And Hoosier Lottery's got it too. But we were blessed because we had a governor that believed in spreading the wealth. O'Bannon. Governor O'Bannon walked in the Hoosier Lottery and said, "This is my guy. You're going to use him." And then they fell in love with us because they found out it wasn't just a political thing. These guys are good. So they start giving us carte blanche, which again got us in trouble with advertising agencies, because the advertising agencies had their own people, their copyists and their writers, and they were bypassing them. They were only using the advertising company to do their placements.
You was becoming Frank Lucas.
Yes. Yes.
You cut out the middleman.
Cut out the middleman. They came, right. We want to do this campaign called 15 years with the Kentucky Lottery. Okay. We'll have something for you in 48 hours.
What do you think? What do you think, before we wrap up, what do you think? You got great experience all over the board. You've seen the hard times. You've seen segregation. You lived through it. Have we grown as a society? Or are we doomed to go back to repeat history?
Oh, I pray that will never happen. I think we have grown. I think we've grown tremendously. However, from what I've seen from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and to today, leadership. As a people, I think we're just lacking in leadership. That might get me in trouble, but
people as a whole are cultural people, because the minorities haven't had a leader since, if you want to call these people leaders, I'm going to call them what the textbook calls leaders: Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Huey Newton, Bobby, is it Bobby Jones?
No, Bobby Seale.
Bobby Seale. We haven't had a really quote unquote political leader. Let me take that back. I love Andre Carson.
Yeah.
Love Andre Carson. But let's get real. He's the only face that I see in Indiana.
You know, and I don't deal with politics too much, and I definitely don't talk it that much, but we have got to just, I think everybody's preaching the same song, but when are we going to do what we preach about and talk about? When are we going to come together and realize that we're a $10 billion industry just as a people?
We've been that way from when we broke the chains.
You know, and I mean, America wouldn't be America
without us.
Without us, period. Everything that they use, that all Americans use, is invented by us. I mean, you know, it's like I just don't know what it's gonna take. I don't know if I'll ever see it in my lifetime, because I'm already, you know, I got one foot going toward the other way right now. But I don't know. I don't know what it's gonna take. And with technology and everything else, I used to have a saying with my grandkids. They used to get mad at me when they were young a little bit. But I used to tell them, I said, you know, you guys are slaves. Okay. Now, my audience, don't take this in the wrong way. Listen to how I'm putting this. I said, but everything y'all doing, the white man is controlling everything. The shoes you wear, Nike. Y'all killing each other for your shoes, because you can't afford it and he can, and you're going to take them. Your watches, them phones. You don't even read books anymore. And guess what? They keep putting it in the book, but they know you ain't going to read it. You could learn the stock market and everything else, because why? It's in a book. But are you going to pick up the book? It's on your phone. But that ain't what you're doing. You playing games. You're doing this and that. Now we got AI. That's scary. It's scary to me because I work in the medical field now. Okay. I've been a technician in the health field for 11 years. You know, after I retired from one job, I decided I can't stop, Andre. I'm crazy. But anyway, I'm like, are these doctors really studying? Or their paperwork or all their thesis and everything, is AI writing them? They not teaching cursive in school. They taking away the arts. First, every time they have a budget cut, what do they take away? The things that we're passionate about. As a kid, I might have been lost if it hadn't been the fact that I could do instrumental music in fourth grade. You know, I think about those things, man. And, you know, and it's not just my age. Okay. It's not just my age. It's
everything is now. We live in a world that success is easily obtained if you hit the lottery the right way.
Right.
I think I said that right. But I'm not knocking, because I believe that, you know, evolution is evolution. You have to grow, but I get what you're saying. Technology has almost handicapped society as a whole, not just with our people, but just as a whole in general. But with that said, let's talk about something that you're passionate about. Music is supposed to be the healing tool for society, to bring us together versus tearing us apart. Music has taken band-aids away from civilizations and put flowers in its place. This is something you're passionate about. Has music evolved to do that today?
Yes. Music is still healing. You know, whether it's inspirational, whether it's a spoken word message, whether it's a melody, whether it's a song. Um, Music takes away pain. Um, Music makes you smile. Music controls a lot of your emotions and your behavior.
Music wakes you up. I just was listening to a song by Alice in Chain, the Flies and Jars and Flies, or Flies in a Jar album. And I pulled up the words and was amazed with what I read. And another group that I had no idea was a spiritual group, Breaking Benjamin, until I looked at the lyrics. So my hat's off to songwriters, because I think a lot of times we listen, but we don't listen. When I started to actually see the words to these songs and these artists, my respect went even in a different level. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I never knew that this song said that.
Exactly. And that's why, like I was saying, even when I mentioned Linda Creed and different people,
I'm gonna look her up.
no,
I know the name.
Please look. You will be surprised of the hits. Just type in.
I like, she wrote those.
She was the lyric. She was basically Tom Bell's main right hand. She was, and I'm telling you, Linda loved me, man. She felt if her and I had a hooked up, we probably we'd been like Face. We'd had a hit after hit after hit. She had to leave because, again, she felt like she should have been a partner. It's just like a law firm.
Yeah.
This music thing is no different. She felt like she had paid her dues, and they wouldn't let me in. And I was like, okay, what can I say? Because if they won't let her in and she's written all these hits, she moved to California. They lived in Philadelphia at the time. And her and Epi moved to California, and her husband. And then she got cancer. Well, she had cancer. And I think she was I want to say she was 36 when she passed, but she was in her late 30s. And unfortunately, all that talent, and she succumbed to cancer. But that was another ticket for me that I think would have been good. So I kind of missed the boat on a couple of things. I turned down the Jacksons thinking the Spinners, not the Spinners themselves, but the record company and the producers were going to start utilizing my skills a little more.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't happen. And then when I do get my own group and we get there, then we break up.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but now I'm not chasing anything, but I'm telling you what, this past Saturday showed me that the Spinners tribute thing could go.
Well, it also shows too that it also shows that what that lady shared with you manifests. Before we wrap up, tell me about passion. What did you not know, or what you thought you knew passion was, and later find out it goes a lot deeper than that?
It's almost one word: my heart.
Wow.
It's almost just heart. Everything's, the heart is the thing that's pumping all the time. Without the heart,
Nothing.
You ain't breathing. You ain't thinking. You ain't talking without the heart. And I had to, what I learned was my heartbeat drove everything that I do. And when my heart stops beating, that's when, you lose focus. And even physically, it might not stop beating, but the passion comes from the heart. And you got to have vision. And you've got to continue no matter the bumps, the bruises, the ups and downs, if you really, really, really are passionate about what you do, you're not going to let anything stop your heart from beating if you can keep from it. And that's driven me ever since. I have no regrets. I think we could have been successful. Let's say if LA and Babyface had taken the chance on not, I'm not saying the world. Let's just say, I'm just saying me.
Mm-hmm.
What if they had said, I remember that guy. He used to write or something. Or
Mm-hmm.
let's give him an opportunity. I think that it would have been 100. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but that didn't happen. I don't dwell on things like that. I'm happy for their success. I know people. Again, that word hate is a strong thing, but they have that term haters. I know people that hate on others just because they're successful. Why? And just because they don't owe you anything, and I'm that guy. I'm the James Brown. I'll open up the door and get it myself.
Mm.
It's not that I don't want anybody to give me anything, but I know those come a dime a dozen.
Mm.
I mean, it's just like investors. Music business is one of the hardest things to invest in. It's hard to find investors in the music business. Made me choke. It's hard because the return, there's nothing really promised. And then you've got all this competition out here and everything. And I don't look at it as competition. I look at it, for me, I'm going to keep giving you music. You either going to like it, support it, dislike it, not care about it, or you may never even hear it, because this industry now is saturated with stuff all over the airwaves. And so unless somebody is putting money behind an artist, it's hard to really get known unless you're playing live and promoting your brand, like you say, in merchandise, CDs, that type of thing, because your real music fans, they will purchase stuff. They may not still listen to it on Apple or iTunes or whatever, Spotify or whoever they listen to, but they'll purchase your CD. That's why I have these CDs here, because they'll put them up on their mantelpiece or whatever, especially if you sign them. And that's where I'm going to keep marketing. I'm going to keep doing it as long as I can. I love my music, and it's not about the money. It's not about the fame, the fortune, the notoriety. It's the passion. I'm doing this because I love to do it. I used to have a saying that I used to have on my cards. I do what I love, and I love what I do.
Before we wrap up, how can the viewers reach out to you? What do you got going on next? Because you are actually doing the Spinners tribute tour. So give us a little bit about that, and how can the viewers reach out to you?
Well, they can reach out to me by I'm on Facebook everywhere. I'm not a hidden gem. Okay, I'm an open book. My wife says I'm too open of a book on that social media. But Rodney Stepp, the website is simple, rodneystepp.com.
Right.
The groups and everything else, if you can't get me on social media, the business number is 213-640-7664. You can get me at stepnation@gmail.com. I'm telling you, I'm an open book. You can find me and you can send me those checks that, just I can take Venmo, PayPal. No, but if you just want to, donate. But my biggest show, next one, is December 6th.
Okay.
It's my 5th year.
Wow.
And I'm looking for sponsors. I'm still 5 years I've done this, Andre, and I haven't had a sponsor yet. Nobody has supported me in the city.
They're going to support you. They're gonna support.
Except for me and the Madam Walker. Madam Walker's been good to me, and I've been good to them. But it's at the Madam Walker Legacy Center, December the 6th. It's called a Holiday Soul Review. It'll be Rodney Stepp Experience, Men in the Fire, Stacy McCracken, and the IU Soul Review is going to be doing a big show. And this is my celebration for 5 years. We have sold out this show every December.
Now, is this a black tie affair? What's the dress code?
No, it's just, it can be casual, but a lot of people dress up, it's their time to come dressed, know. Yeah. So it almost turns out to be a fashion show, but you don't have to, jeans is fine, know, and it's a family affair. You can bring your kids. Now there is alcohol served, but you have to have a band and stuff. But it's in a theater setting, so it's cool. We start early. We start at 7:00. We want you home by 10:00.
Okay.
Come on, man. I've shared it. I told you I was on book. I'm 73. I don't want to be out tonight. Hey, it's like when I was a kid. Be home at 11, Rodney. 11 come on. Go to 30.
Rodney, thank you so much.
No, thank you, my brother.
Taking time to come on the show.
No.
Definitely going to have you back.
Hey, I feel like there's so many things. I'd have been here till midnight. But
and it's I enjoy it when guys like you and Sid and other great people walk through the door and share such great stories, because people need to hear these stories. They need to know that they can keep that beast mindset at any age. And more importantly, you share something that the viewers need to understand. It's about passion.
Yeah.
And it starts right here, and you don't let nobody tell you can't do something. Get up when you fall, brush it off, and keep going, because at the end of the day, nobody cares about you but yourself.
And your work ethic.
Your work ethic.
You've got to, if you believe it, you got to live it. You got to live it, dream it, have the vision, but you got to believe. And you got to work. This episode 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you subscribe, click, and follow Rodney. Support him. Like I said on every show, all it takes is one click on somebody's social media page to make a difference in your life or somebody else's life. This has been another, and I do mean another, exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Out.